Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about writing the equation of an ellipse given some key features. So in the table in front of you, you have all of the ways that you can find the key features of each type of ellipse. I'm going to link in the description a video for graphing the ellipse, which shows you how to pull out these key features from the x-type and the y-type equations. I'm just going to shoot through this table really quick, reviewing what we're going to need for today. So these are your two types of ellipse equations. The a squared is always going to be the bigger number in reference to the b. So if the bigger number is under the x squared part of the ellipse, then that means that this ellipse opens up horizontally. If the bigger number is under the y squared part of the ellipse, that means that the ellipse opens up vertically. The vertices of the ellipse are found by starting at the center and going a units to the right or the left if it's an x type, or a units up or down for the y type. The length of this longer section across the ellipse is the length of the major axis. The co-vertices in an x type are found by going b units above or below the center, and in a y type equation, b units to the right and the left. This shorter distance across the ellipse is called the length of the minor axis. And again, that's b units in either direction. The focal distance, if you notice, this is not Pythagorean's theorem. The focal distance is equal to c squared is a squared minus b squared, where c represents the focal distance. The focal distance is always c units from the center along the major axis. So c units to the right and the left of the center in an x type going horizontally, and then c units above and below the center in a y type that's opening up vertically. The length of the major axis is 2a in both types. The length of the minor axis is 2b in both types. The focal chord length is 2b squared over a in both types. And your eccentricity is equal to c over a. Now, these formulas are going to help us to write the equation of the ellipse given these key features. Let's do some examples. Number 1, the center is at origin, a equals 8, b equals 6, and the major axis is parallel to the y-axis. So I'm going to sketch this because that's just going to be helpful here. So if I sketch this vertical ellipse, since the major axis is parallel to the y-axis, I know that A is 8. I know that B is 6. So again, major axis, minor axis. And I know that the center is at the origin. So if the center is the origin, that means H and K are 0. So this is going to be the form x squared over b squared plus y squared over a squared is equal to 1. Again, the a, the bigger number, is underneath the y squared because this is opening up vertically. It's longer vertically. And from here, I can just plug in the values that they gave me. So they told me that b was 6, so 6 squared is 36. And they told me that a was 8, so a squared is 64. And there we go. There's the equation of that first ellipse. Number 2, the center is at -3, -3. The length of the horizontal semi-major axis is 7 units, and the length of the semi-minor axis is 5 units. So if the center is -3, -3, that gives me my h value and my k value. The horizontal semi-major axis, so that means if the major axis is horizontal, that this is going to be an x type. So this is going to be an x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared is equal to 1. Since this center is not at the origin, I'm actually going to write this as x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equal to 1. I know that semi-major means that half the major axis is 7. So that means that the major axis itself is 14 units. We know from the previous page that the major axis is equal to 2a. So I can say that 2a is equal to 14 and a is equal to 7. So there's my a value I'll be able to fill in my equation. They also tell me that the semi-minor axis is 5 units, which means the whole minor axis is 10 units. I know that the minor axis is equal to 2b, so that means b is equal to 5. And I can see in these two equations now that if they give me the length of the semi-minor or the length of the semi-major, that's going to give me the b value and the a value automatically. So now that I have all the pieces of information that I need, I have h, k, a, and b. I can plug those into my equation. So I have x plus 3 squared over a squared is 49 plus y plus 3 squared over b squared, which is 25, equal to 1. Number 3, the foci are negative 2, 0, and 2, 0, and a is equal to 7. So for this one, I'm definitely going to want to draw a sketch. So my foci are at negative 2, 0 and positive 2, 0. I know that the foci are located along the major axis. So if the major axis is going across the x-axis, this is an x-type. So this is going to be x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equal to 1. I also know that the foci are equidistant from the center of this ellipse, which means the center must be right here at the origin, 0, 0. So this is definitely the equation that we're going to use. I don't even need the minus h squared and the minus k squared because that center is 0, 0. Since these two pink dots, right, the negative 2, 0 and the 2, 0 are representative of my foci, that means that the c value is 2 because it's 2 units away from the center. I know that a is equal to 7. The last thing that I need to find is b. I know that c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. And now I can just plug in. So 2 squared is 4. 7 squared is 49. I'm going to get b squared is equal to 45, which means b is the square root of 45. I have a and b, so now I can plug those into the equation of my ellipse. So I have x squared over a squared is 49 plus y squared over b squared. So the square root of 45 squared gives you 45 equal to 1. And again, this makes sense. I know that this thing was opening up horizontally, so the larger number should be under the x squared piece, not the y squared piece. 49 is just a tiny bit bigger than 45. Number 4, the length of the semi-minor axis is 2/3 the length of the horizontal semi-major axis. The center is the origin, and a equals 6. So let's break this down. This was a lot of information in one tiny sentence. So they're telling me the length of the semi-minor axis. I know from the previous example that the minor axis is equal to 2b and the semi-minor axis is equal to just b. So the semi-minor axis b is, that means equals, 2/3 the length of the horizontal semi-major axis. We know from before that the semi-major axis is equal to a. So that means that b is equal to 2/3 a. Since this major axis was horizontal, this has to be an x-type ellipse. So x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared is equal to 1. The center is the origin, so hk is just 0, 0. So I don't have to worry about h and k in these numerators. And then they also told me that a is equal to 6. So I can plug a right in here. So I get b is 2/3 times 6. 6 divided by 3 is 2, times 2 is 4. So I know that b is 4 and a is 6, and I can plug those right into the equation of my ellipse. So I have x squared over a squared is 36, plus y squared over b squared is 16, equal to 1. Number 5. The semi-major axis has a length of 4 units, and the foci are located at 2, 3, and 2, -3. So if I look at this first piece of information, the semi-major axis has a length of 4 units. I know that the semi-major axis is equal to A. So that means A is 4. They're giving me the location of the foci, so I'm going to need to sketch this one out to see what's going on. So my foci are at 2, +3 and 2, -3. Now, since my foci are lined up vertically, that tells me that this is going to be a Y-type ellipse. I also know that the center is equidistant from these two foci, so it must be in the middle, which is right here. So my center is 2, 0, and that represents h and k. Again, since this is a y-type equation, I'm going to have to fill in x minus h squared over b squared plus y minus k squared over a squared is equal to 1. I already have h and k. I have a. I can see on my picture here that c is going to be this distance, which is 3 units. So I know that c is 3. I can now use a and c to help me find b. C squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. So I get b squared is equal to 7. So b is equal to the square root of 7. And now I can just plug in. So I'm going to have x minus 2 squared over rad 7 squared is 7 plus, it's just going to be y minus 0. So I'm just going to leave that as y squared over a squared. So 4 squared is 16 equal to 1. Number 6, write the equation of an ellipse with foci at -1, 0 and 1, 0 and a equals 4. So I'm going to sketch this one out again. My foci are at -1, 0 and +1, 0. That means C is equal to 1 and my center is in the middle of these two C points. So my center is at 0, 0. I know that A is equal to 4. And since my foci are located on the x-axis, this is going to be an x-type equation. So it's going to be x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equal to 1. I still need to figure out b. So I know c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. C squared, so 1 squared is 1. 4 squared is 16. So we're going to get b is the square root of 15. And now I can just plug in. X squared over 4 squared is 16 plus y squared over rad 15 squared is 15 equal to 1. Number 7, write the equation of an ellipse with semi-major axis of 2 rad 13 units and the foci are at -1, 1 and -1, -5. So we know that the semi-major axis is equal to a. So that tells me that A is 2 rad 13. I'm going to sketch the foci so that I can find the center of this ellipse and so I can figure out if it's an x-type or a y-type. So my foci are at -1, +1 and -1, -5. 1, 2. So -1, 1, -1, -5. I know that my center is going to be midway between these two values. So 5 and 1 is 6, so it's going to be 3 units away. So 1, 2, 3, my center is here, which is at -1, -2. Since this ellipse is opening up vertically, this is going to be a y-type, and the center is not at 0, 0, so I need to write it as x minus h. So it's going to be x minus h squared over b squared plus y minus k squared over a squared equal to 1. I know that my C value based on the graph that I just drew is 3. And now I can use A and C to find B. So C squared is equal to A squared minus B squared. 3 squared is 9. A squared, so if I do this without a calculator, 2 rad 13 squared. I know that rad 13 squared is 13. 2 squared is 4. And 13 times 4 is 52. So now I have 9 equal to 52 minus b squared. So b squared is equal to 43, and b is the square root of 43. Now I can start plugging into my equation. So since h is -1, I'm going to have x plus 1 squared over b squared, so rad 43 squared is 43, plus y minus k squared, so that's y plus 2 squared, over a squared. 2 rad 13 squared, we just did that over here. That's 52 equal to 1. That's it for writing the equation of an ellipse. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Have a great day.